Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Lex. So best crew skills for heavies, mediums, and lights. Now I want you guys to keep in mind this is for beginners and it's also for advanced, but I'm going to say that it's based on my own personal experience. So from trial and error and so on. So I made a list of 10 that I like, but I'm going to go ahead and say that you still have to kind of know each tank that you're playing and adjust accordingly. That means that you're gonna have to spend gold if you want to make it the perfect tank. But I am gonna go ahead and say that the first 5 do vary from medium to light to heavy, but in the order in which we get them is usually the same, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. But first, something that confused me for years, seriously, which was crew training and how does it work. Now, I want to go ahead and point out to you guys that it says here for your first 4 skills, it costs 100,000 and some change crew XP per skill perk. Now you might go, how do you earn crew XP? As far as I know, it's the amount of XP that you earn in a game, and it'll actually say you got, crew XP next to it. So usually winning games, but it could also be both. I have no idea. That is something I've been kind of trying to figure out, but I haven't found anything on it. And it says here, so it doubles. So after your first 4, so your 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th perk are going to double. That means it's going to cost 200,000 and some change, then 400,000, then 800,000, all the way up to 25 skill perks. And that's a lot. I think the highest I've ever heard of was 16. And if you think about that, that 16th perk was actually, it cost 800,000 XP. That is a lot of XP. Alright, so on to heavy tanks. So this is what I'd actually go for, but I'm going to go ahead and say this isn't the order in which I would get them. You can use repairs, and you can kind of just start with repairs, and then right before you're getting ready to pick your perk, like when it shows the crosses, you guys can go ahead and just pick the perk you actually want to have for your #1 slot and just keep repairs as an active perk. It is a perk that when you use it right off the draw, it gives you benefits. Seriously, it gives you benefits right off the bat. It's one of those type of perks. But I'm going to say that usually by the 4th perk, I leave it solid because I like to have track mechanic and track repairs. And to kind of show you guys a little bit more on that, this is a crew that I recently started, I don't know, probably maybe a month ago. And you guys can see here that I have 6 Sense, Brothers in Arms, Track Repair, and so on, pretty much right to the list. But that's not the order in which I got them. And what I mean by that is, just to kind of clarify it, is that I got my crew to 100%, and then it gave me a cross, and I picked Track Repair. I got Track Repair to 100%, and then I got a cross. Instead of picking another perk and leaving Track Repair, I actually just basically used in exchange, and I went ahead and purchased 6 Cents, and then I picked repairs again. So I just kept doing that until I got up to my 4th perk, and then I left it. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys there's some reasons for this, for having Brothers in Arms and 6 Cents. I think that they're a necessity, and they definitely help out a lot when it comes to survivability. And the list here that I give you guys is all about making your tank last as long as it possibly can. But I am going to go ahead and say that there are going to be people that disagree with me. Seriously. So you don't need to go crazy on my channel and telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to tell you, I already said it 3 times that this is my own personal selection. And so anyway, that is the way to do it though, to use that repair perk. So the way this tank's set up right now, it takes me about 5 seconds after I get tracked to get untracked, and it can be less depending on on the tanks you're playing. Seriously. But I did want to let you guys know that each tank has its own characteristics. Some are fast, some turn really quick, some don't. The heavy tanks, all the tanks in the game actually are different. They're different beasts. All of them, they all have their own unique characteristics. This one kind of has a low pinning gun, but its APCR kind of makes up for it. It has really good angled armor. but heat rounds can just tear it to shreds. So I find that having a jack of all trades is kind of a necessity for this, just to give me, well, I'll just say, I can't tell you how many times I've been playing a tank like this and gotten hit with some high explosives or something, and it killed, you know, 2 crew members instead of 1. And because I'm not using a premium consumable, I was only able to heal 1 crew member. But because I had jack of all trades, it made up for it. It didn't make the crew, amazing. I definitely felt the loss, but it definitely made up for it. I was actually able to drive quicker when my driver got knocked out, and so on. So it's a really good setup. But as we go down the list, you guys can see that I put more emphasis on different skills. Some of these are kind of projects, you know, that were in. This was actually the last time I actually tested this, and I know for sure right now, as of, you know, 6/23/2017, that this perk on this tank does not help you in any way because of your camouflage rating, and that would be situational awareness. It's just, it's not needed. So I'm better off picking something that, yeah, I'm better off picking a perk that's going to help me out a lot more. And I'm going to go ahead and just go solid repairs on here. Yeah, so solid repairs is going to give me super fast track repairs on this, and that's going to definitely, like I said, I just swapped this out. I swapped this out. So yeah, this thing's very slow. It needs to be able to move on a dime, but the setup I showed you will work on this as well. When it comes to the AMX50B though, you guys can see that I put more emphasis on not catching fire, not getting ammo racked, and I'm working on my 11th perk right now. And we're going to go ahead and keep moving down the road here. My STI, with its almost 10 perk crew, same kind of setup as you can see, except for I have smooth ride and snapshot. This thing absolutely needs clutch braking because it has a super slow turret, and you get circled by mediums and lights, so you absolutely need that on here, and that definitely helps. This tank plays more like a medium, and so you guys can see that I have smooth ride and snapshot on here. So it's basically about feeling your tank out and seeing what works for you. So yeah, the basics that I gave you here will work, but at some point you'll probably want to change these around to suit your play style, what's happening to you, what's going on in the updates. They do change in the future. Characteristics of tanks change. For instance, I personally thought that clutch braking really wasn't necessary on heavy tanks until they slowed down turret speed, and they did. They've slowed down turret speed slowly over the last year I've been playing, and so now clutch braking has become an essential. So let's move on to mediums and lights. Now this is the same kind of a thing. So now that I've given you, like, guys, a quick glance of what we're looking at here, let me go ahead and pick medium tanks here. So this is a really good example of a tank that's more like a light tank than it is anything else. You'll notice that I don't have binoculars on here or coated optics, and the reason why is that as soon as I got situational awareness on this with my coffee and also with my ventilation, I have the max view range that you can possibly have. So now I need to focus on camouflage. Now sometimes my number 3 slot on the equipment, I might throw a camouflage net on here, but I don't sit there long enough, so I usually play this active as an active scout, even though it's a medium tank at tier 10. So if you guys look, I put all the emphasis on firing and not being spotted. So even muzzle, muzzle blast, I don't recommend it. I'm actually going to give that a real trial. I know I have it on the list. Here, but maybe I don't actually have it on the list here. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm going to say though that green thumb definitely makes a huge advantage, especially when you're in bushes. But you do need to understand bush mechanics. You definitely need to understand bush mechanics. Okay, so let's move on to another monster. It's a medium tank, but it acts and has terrible camouflage rating. This is the E50M, and I'm going to go ahead and say that in comparison with the E50, 29 is its camouflage rating, which means there's really no reason to try and make this thing camouflage. I mean, you could, and completely disagree with me if I'm wrong. If that works for you and you guys love camouflage, then that's great. I'm going to go ahead and say, though, that, you know, this particular setup that I have on here, this thing is basically a glorified E75. It really is. Has the same armor. It just has a slightly different gun. But it is a heavy tank. It's as fast as a medium. The alpha damage is 400. It's an amazing vehicle. I think it's probably one of the best tier 9s at tier 9 medium tanks that you can have. But like I said, I didn't concentrate on making this thing camouflage because it only has a 29. This one actually has a better concealment rate of 32, but look at it compared to the Batchat AP, 52, 54. And with all those perks I have, I'm going to outspot them. So you guys need to understand this about tanks. It's all about having less camouflage rating than the other guy. So I would say that if you're going for mediums, you need to get that camouflage perk and camouflage net on your tank. If you're that type of player, if you sit back in your mediums or light tanks and just have the best camouflage rating, use bush mechanics. If you guys need like a refreshing course, there are plenty of videos out there on it. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that's pretty much the same setup that I use for lights. Right here, same setup. I go more for the Batchat, but like I said, you still have to learn each tank. I have a lot of crews trained, as you guys can tell here, and it's because I actually don't want to throw my crews out, and I'd like to be able to play a tank on a moment's notice. You guys can see that almost every one of them has the track mechanic perk. It is very important. I also have repairs. And you can see I'm doing that same thing on this one where I'm using repairs, and I'm going to keep doing it all the way until I get 10 perks on this. And it's the same with this tank. So just kind of showing you guys the way that I do it. So that's pretty much it. You know, starting out from one and working your way up. That's the way I do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. Let me know if this is something that helps you out, or if you guys have a different setup that you guys like to use. But I'm going to go ahead and say that don't go raging on my channel. I already said that this is my own preference of the top 10 that I like to use. And it varies because I change them from tank to tank. You have to play the tank and learn which perks are the best for it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, please subscribe and have a good one. Later.